You're prepared for some big changes to Kansas law. A set of 101 new laws take effect July 1st. That's tomorrow. They cover a wide range of topics and issues. Sean Logging walks us through some of those changes.
Out of the 2024 Kansas legislative session, 113 new laws. 2 of them passed in the recently completed special session. The majority of them, 101, will take effect July 1. Right off the bat, the Kansas Commerce Secretary can start the negotiations to entice a professional sports team, the Chiefs and Royals namely, to move here to Kansas using a modified Star Bonds program to offer to pay for most of the costs of a professional sports stadium. There are some new crimes, including for organized retail theft. That law also makes it a crime to encourage someone to commit suicide. For someone who leaves the scene of a car crash, where someone is injured or killed, there'll be increased criminal penalties. This is known as Levi's Law. There are also some new abortion laws. One will make it a crime to use coercion to get someone to have an abortion. Another will have abortion providers ask patients seeking an abortion nearly a dozen new questions, which patients can decline to answer. In that are also some new reporting requirements. Several changes will be coming to the state's civil asset seizure and forfeiture laws, which allow law enforcement to take people's property if it's believed to be connected to a crime, whether they're convicted of that or not. It removes controlled substance possession and use from the list of crimes that qualify for seizure and forfeiture. It also shortens the window that law enforcement have to request forfeiture to 14 days. In higher education, public institutions will be prohibited from getting statements from students, faculty, and other employees regarding their views on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. To reduce blocked railroad crossings, railroads will need to keep a minimum distance of 250 feet from railroad crossings to where the rail cars are being stopped or stored on a siding track, not the main railroad track. However, this will only apply to railroad crossings where you do not have electronic warning systems. Changes are also coming to the state's workers' compensation laws, increasing the benefits for someone who is injured or killed on the job and making that process easier. Kansas National Guard members would also qualify for these benefits. Websites with sexually explicit adult content are now required to use age verification technology to permit access. Sean Logging, 12 News.
You can find a full list of laws taking effect tomorrow by going to kwch.com or the 12 News app.